God here in studio, thank you so much for that report there. Now, conflict in the Central African Republic, the CAR, is intensifying and spreading fast, leaving thousands of people fleeing for their lives and, again, without adequate humanitarian assistance. Since 2016, the fighting has raged on in the north-central areas of the CAR, with wounded casualties recorded on both sides of the conflict, brought to clinics and the hospitals that are manned by Doctors Without Borders, or MSF. Armed groups have attacked whole communities indiscriminately, and medical teams have witnessed people being killed, wounded and displaced as their villages are burnt to the ground in central and eastern CAR. For more on the story, in our studios, we are glad to be joined by Claire Waterhouse. She is Doctors Without Borders MSF field worker who was based in the Central African Republic for a while. Very good morning to you, Claire, and welcome.
Morning. Thanks for having me.
First and foremost, I would like you to paint us a picture of the current situation in the Central African Republic. You stayed there for quite a while.
Yeah, honestly, it's devastating to see that this conflict is still continuing. It's still largely forgotten. And in the last few weeks and months, it's really started deteriorating. We're seeing, really, as you mentioned, indiscriminate attacks against civilians and civilians caught in the crossfire, fleeing into the bush, thousands of displaced people, wounded people. In our projects in the Central African Republic, we're getting reports from our doctors and our field workers of mutilated bodies just left out in the open, whole communities burnt to the ground. It's really sad. And
this almost sounds like Rwanda. It reminds me of that conflict in Rwanda where almost 1 million people were killed in a short period of time.
Yeah, I don't think we're quite at that level yet, thank God, but it is scary. It's really just tragic to see happening, and tragic that it's continued this long and is still so forgotten by the rest of the world.
Who's feeling this brunt of the conflict on the ground, and what does their humanitarian situation suggest?
Well, I think, as always, with these kinds of tragic conflicts, it is always your average civilian who's just stuck in the middle, caught in the crossfire. They just want to live a nice life, have peace, have their children go to school and be healthy, have a bit to eat, and that is just not possible with the way it is at the moment. These sporadic outbursts of conflict are really unpredictable, and the civilians are suffering. They're stuck in the middle, they flee to the bush, they survive on almost nothing, and it's a really tough environment.
For those not familiar with the conflict in the CAR, who is fighting who here?
Oh, it's a very complicated story, to be honest. I think at the moment what is safe to say is that many of the armed groups that were previously quite clearly defined have now splintered, and it's become a bit of a turf war, even internally. There's a lot of political infighting while people try to, I guess, get the lay of the land and look for power.
And why are they fighting?
That, I think, is a difficult question. That it goes so long back that honestly I'm not sure I'm the qualified person to give you that answer. But what I can say is that the fighting has been going on for a long time, and the number one thing that it's affecting is these poor civilians who are just, really struggling. We're seeing huge numbers of increased war wounded in our hospitals, even in our normal hospitals. A pediatric hospital, for example, over one weekend last month we saw 24 people wounded with bullet wounds and other awful attack signs, so.
How does it impact on your operations as MSF in the CAR?
Well, we've been in the CAR since 1997, so we have been there a while, but this conflict is now entering its 5th year, and so we've been in high gear for 5 years, essentially. We have a lot of clinics all throughout the country, and when this kind of stuff starts happening again, when it kicks up again, we have to really be prepared to react quickly, provide emergency services wherever they're needed, and be ready for trauma, basically.
Is the emergency services and the health sector in the CAR up to scratch to deal with the issues at hand?
Unfortunately, the infrastructure is massively lacking, particularly in the health area. So that's why we do step in, because our number one priority is always the patients. So for us, it's not about who started it or which side you're on. If you come into our hospital and you've got a wound, we will treat you. We won't ask questions. And that's why we kind of are going throughout the whole country, providing these services wherever we can, whatever is needed. And that's emergency services, but also your day-to-day. I mean, mother and child health care, malaria is still a big issue, malnutrition is massive. So those are all things that day-to-day we keep treating while still adapting to these increased fighting bursts.
Your human resource on the ground, is that sufficient?
It's never sufficient, to be honest. We always need skilled doctors, skilled people who are ready to go into the field. We do what we can with limited resources, I have to say. We're always trying to get more, of course, so if anyone wants to join us, they're always welcome. But we make do with what we've got, and we're doing okay at the moment, yeah.
So if people want to get involved and they want to assist, do they just provide the human resource, or do they can provide money as well and capital?
We would love either of those things. If people are interested in finding out more about what we do, how to donate or how to work with us, it's really simple. You can just go to our website, which is msf.org.za, and we have sections on working with us and donating. And you know, 100% of our operations in CAR are funded by average people like you and me and any average Joe on the street. We don't receive government funding, and that's part of the reason for our success there, because everyone knows that we're impartial. So every cent helps, basically.
On a personal level, how has it affected you, the scenes that you've witnessed and the people that you had to work with there?
Yeah, you know, it's really hard to see it. It breaks my heart a little bit every single time I see that the fighting's flared up again, because I spent a good 6 months in the CAR, and they're really some of the most lovely people I've ever met. And it's scary, you know, when your country is in war like that and it's so unpredictable. It's really hard. You don't know what to do, and all you want is peace. But I have been amazed by their resilience, I have to say. Just wonderful people, and especially the people who have sacrificed so much to work with us. You know, they cross dangerous villages every day to walk to the clinic so that they can provide services for their fellow citizens, and it's quite something to witness, I have to say. I feel so privileged to have been there, but my heart does break when I see that it's carrying on and getting worse.
Ms. Waterhouse, I thank you so much for your observation and your report back here in studio with us.
Thanks for having me.
That was Claire Waterhouse, Doctors Without Borders, MSF field worker, chatting to us, and you can hear that the situation in the CAR is not what we all really want. So we'll take a short break and take a look at your weather after that.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Well, let's find out what's happening in your weather for today. We start off by taking a look at what's going on in South Africa's southeastern areas. Here we're expecting some showers and thunder showers forecast for today. Those progress on into tomorrow as well. We can see those along the southeastern regions there, and continuing along the eastern coastlines too. Now, we do see a lot of clearing patches around just north of South Africa. We're seeing just a little bit of cloud cover left in places such as Uppington there, places such as Pretoria and surrounding areas. It's going to be a mostly clear day in these areas. Now, we do expect a little